Why do you keep clicking play on the same show when there are thousands of new ones waiting for you? Your finger hesitates. You scroll. You think about watching something new. And then you go right back to something you've already seen a dozen times. Netflix keeps pushing what's new, trending, and recommended. But somehow you end up with the same characters, the same scenes, the same lines you could recite in your sleep. And when people ask why you don't watch something new, you don't always have an answer. But here's the real question. Why does your mind feel calmer the moment something familiar starts playing? Psychology shows that rewatching isn't about laziness or bad taste. It's about what your brain is trying to protect. Some people are wired to chase novelty. Others are wired to seek emotional safety. And that difference runs deeper than entertainment preferences. For some people, life feels unpredictable. Work pressure, emotional uncertainty, relationships that feel unstable. When everything outside feels out of control, the brain looks for something it can fully predict. Something that won't surprise you, won't demand anything from you. Familiar shows do exactly that. You already know who survives, what goes wrong, and how it ends. That certainty lowers anxiety in a way new content can't. Psychologists call this predictability bias. What it actually feels like is relief. Like wrapping your mind in something soft after a long day. For others, the pull isn't comfort, it's exhaustion. Their days are filled with decisions, problem-solving, emotional labor, and constant mental noise. By the time they sit down, their brain doesn't want stimulation. It wants rest. Watching something new requires attention, memory, effort. Rewatching switches the brain into autopilot. Psychologists call this cognitive load reduction. What it feels like is finally letting your mind breathe. Then there are people who rewatch because the show isn't just a show. It's a memory. Maybe it reminds you of a time when life felt simpler, or of someone you watched it with, or of who you were before things changed. Psychologists call this emotional time travel. Familiar content becomes a doorway back to an older version of yourself, frozen in time, waiting exactly where you left it. That's why scenes you've seen 10 times can still make you emotional. It's not the plot. It's the version of you that lived there. And then there are people who rewatch because they notice things others miss. Background details, subtle expressions, foreshadowing, patterns hiding in plain sight. They don't feel like they're repeating anything. They feel like they're uncovering layers. Psychology links this to analytical thinking and high openness. For them, a story isn't finished until every corner has been explored. What all of these people have in common isn't avoidance. It's self-regulation. One is protecting emotional safety. One is conserving mental energy. One is holding on to identity. One is satisfying curiosity. In a culture obsessed with what's next, they've figured out something most people haven't. Sometimes the healthiest thing isn't novelty. It's familiarity. So maybe the real question isn't why you keep rewatching. Maybe it's why you feel judged for knowing what your mind needs. And if you're honest with yourself, which one are you? The comfort seeker, the mentally exhausted recharger, the nostalgic anchor, or the detail hunter